Comment below. I choose my value over their approval. Let's make this a shared commitment. Now, let me ask you, have you ever felt invisible to someone whose attention you crave? Or maybe you've poured your energy into proving your worth to someone who barely notices? If so, I have some news. You're not alone, but the solution isn't what you think. Today, we're going to talk about how to handle being undervalued and, believe it or not, how to turn the tables, not through manipulation, but by transforming yourself. 1. Understanding value and obsession. Let's start by reframing what it means to be valued. Too often, we tie our worth to how others perceive us. We think if someone doesn't recognize our qualities or contributions, it means we're somehow lacking. But here's the truth. Their failure to value you says far more about them than it does about you. The problem arises when we internalize their lack of recognition and make it a reflection of our self-worth. This gives them power over our emotions, and it's a trap the Stoics warned against. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When someone doesn't value you, your reaction determines the impact it has on your life. Will you spiral into self-doubt, or will you rise above it, anchoring yourself in your own intrinsic value? Obsession, in the context of Stoicism, is not about manipulation or forcing someone to notice you. It's about cultivating a presence so undeniable that others naturally gravitate toward you. And this starts with your relationship with yourself. Consider this. When we chase after others' approval, we often lose sight of who we are. But when we focus inward, on becoming the best version of ourselves, something remarkable happens. We become like a steady flame, calm, bright, and impossible to ignore. Think about the people you admire most. Are they the ones desperately seeking validation? Or are they the ones who exude confidence and self-respect? This is the mindset shift we're aiming for. Your value isn't something you need to prove or beg for. It's something you cultivate, embrace, and project. To truly understand value, we must stop seeking it externally and begin defining it internally. Ask yourself, what do I value about myself? What qualities make me unique? When you answer these questions honestly, you'll start to see that your worth isn't dependent on anyone else's opinion. It's rooted in who you are and the principles you live by. That's the first step to becoming the kind of person others can't ignore. Part 2. The power of self-sufficiency. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic thinker, wrote in his Meditations, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This principle is at the heart of self-sufficiency. When you rely on external validation for happiness, you hand over the reins of your emotional well-being to others. The Stoics believed this was a dangerous way to live. Instead, they championed self-sufficiency, the idea that true contentment comes from within. Think about it. How much of your mental energy is spent on people who don't value you? Whether it's a colleague who overlooks your contributions, a friend who takes you for granted, or a romantic partner who doesn't appreciate your presence, these situations can drain your emotional reserves. But here's the kicker. You're the one allowing it. The Stoics teach us to take back control by focusing on what we can influence, our own actions and thoughts. Imagine you're a gardener. Would you water a plant that never grows, no matter how much effort you put into it? Of course not. Yet, when we chase after people who don't value us, we're doing exactly that, pouring our energy into something that yields no return. Instead, the Stoics would advise us to nurture the garden within ourselves. Invest in your skills, your health, your passions. When you do, you'll find that your self-respect grows, and so does your sense of fulfillment. Here's a practical exercise. Each morning, take 5 minutes to reflect on your strengths. Write down 3 things you're proud of about yourself. Maybe it's your resilience, your kindness, or your dedication to personal growth. By doing this consistently, you shift your focus away from external validation and toward internal appreciation. Over time, this practice strengthens your sense of self-sufficiency. When you stop needing others to validate you, you become free. Free to live authentically, free to set boundaries, and free to attract the right kind of attention, the kind that's rooted in mutual respect. Remember, self-sufficiency isn't about isolation. It's about creating a strong foundation so that your happiness doesn't depend on anyone else. 3. Practical steps to shift focus. Now that we've explored the mindset shifts necessary for self-worth, let's get practical. The Stoics weren't just philosophers, they were practitioners of their own teachings. They believed that wisdom was useless unless it was applied to daily life. So how do we take this wisdom and make it actionable? Step 1. Audit your energy. Take a hard look at where your time and emotional energy are going. Are you investing in people or activities that uplift you? Or are you stuck in a cycle of chasing approval from someone who devalues you? Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, wisely noted, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Sometimes the pain of being undervalued isn't about what's happening, but about how much mental space we give it. Reclaim that energy by redirecting it to things within your control. Step 2. Master detachment. Detachment doesn't mean apathy. It means recognizing what you can and cannot control. When someone doesn't value you, that's their choice. Your choice is whether or not to let it affect you. Try this. Each time you feel overlooked or undervalued, pause and take a deep breath. Remind yourself, their opinion is theirs. My value is mine. Over time, this practice helps you build emotional resilience. Step 3. Cultivate excellence. Obsession often stems from admiration. People are naturally drawn to those who excel in their pursuits. Instead of focusing on why someone isn't valuing you, channel that energy into mastering a skill, pursuing a passion, or achieving a goal. Excellence is magnetic, and when you focus on your growth, you'll find that recognition often follows without you having to chase it. These steps may sound simple, but their impact is profound. The Stoics remind us that small, consistent actions lead to significant transformation. By auditing your energy, practicing detachment, and pursuing excellence, you shift your focus away from external validation and toward self-improvement. The result? A life that's not only more fulfilling, but also more inspiring to others. 4. Embracing the power of boundaries. Let's talk about boundaries, an essential yet often overlooked aspect of self-respect. The Stoics believed that to live a good life, we must protect our inner peace. Think of boundaries as the walls of a fortress, not to isolate yourself, but to preserve what's valuable inside. Epictetus advised, "Keep your will in harmony with nature, and let your desires be bound by what's in your control." If someone doesn't value you, their behavior is outside your control. But what is within your control is how much access you give them to your energy, time, and emotions. Boundaries are not about punishment or exclusion. They're about creating a space where mutual respect can thrive. Imagine you're hosting a garden party. You wouldn't allow uninvited guests to trample through your carefully tended flowers. So why allow others to trample on your emotional well-being? Setting boundaries is not only a sign of self-respect, but also a way to teach others how to treat you. Here's a technique. When someone disrespects your value, calmly but firmly communicate your limits. Don't argue, and don't seek validation for your boundaries. This is not about convincing them, it's about standing up for yourself. For example, if someone is consistently late or dismissive, say, "I value our time together, but I need punctuality to feel respected." Over time, people will either respect your boundaries or remove themselves from your life. And either outcome is a win. Another critical aspect of boundaries is maintaining them with yourself. Avoid overcommitting or saying yes when your heart says no. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Strengthening your boundaries begins with clarity on your values and priorities. Write them down, reflect on them, and let them guide your decisions. Ultimately, boundaries are about preserving your energy for what truly matters. When you protect your time and emotional space, you make room for growth, joy, and meaningful connections. This is how you build a life that's aligned with your values and worthy of your highest potential. 5. Becoming indispensable by living with purpose. Finally, let's explore how to become indispensable, not in a way that relies on others' approval, but in how you live with purpose. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius believed that the key to fulfillment was contributing to the greater good. He wrote, "What we do now echoes in eternity." Ask yourself, what value do you bring to the world? What impact do you leave on those around you? When you focus on creating value, whether it's in your relationships, your work, or your community, you naturally attract attention, not because you're seeking it, but because you're a source of inspiration and strength. The first step to living with purpose is identifying your core values. These are the principles that guide your actions and decisions. For the Stoics, values like wisdom, courage, and justice were paramount. What are yours? Write them down and reflect on how aligned your daily actions are with these ideals. Take this as a reminder: your focus is your power. If you aim it inward toward self-improvement, you not only gain inner peace, you also create an undeniable presence. Building boundaries with strength. Let's talk about boundaries, an essential yet often overlooked aspect of self-respect. The Stoics believed that to live a good life, we must protect our inner peace. Think of boundaries as the walls of a fortress, not to isolate yourself, but to preserve what's valuable inside. Epictetus advised, "Keep your will in harmony with nature, and let your desires be bound by what's in your control." If someone doesn't value you, their behavior is outside your control. But what is within your control is how much access you give them to your energy, time, and emotions. Here's a technique. When someone disrespects your value, calmly but firmly communicate your limits. Don't argue, and don't seek validation for your boundaries. This is not about convincing them. It's about standing up for yourself. Over time, people will either respect your boundaries or remove themselves from your life, and either outcome is a win. 7. The art of becoming indispensable. Finally, let's explore how to become indispensable, not in a way that relies on others' approval, but in how you live with purpose. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius believed that the key to fulfillment was contributing to the greater good. He wrote, "What we do now echoes in eternity." Ask yourself, what value do you bring to the world? What impact do you leave on those around you? When you focus on creating value, whether it's in your relationships, your work, or your community, you naturally attract attention, not because you're seeking it, but because you're a source of inspiration and strength. Here's an actionable step. Pick one area of your life where you feel undervalued. Instead of seeking recognition, focus on mastery or contribution. If it's your work, strive to be excellent. If it's a relationship, show kindness without expectation. The secret? People become obsessed not with someone who demands value, but with someone who embodies it. By doing this, you align your actions with your principles. This alignment creates an unshakable foundation of self-worth, and when you live with that, you become magnetic. I want you to leave this video with one powerful thought. You are enough as you are. The more you lean into your unique value, the more others will see it too. And if they don't, that's their loss, not yours. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Be the person you aspire to be, regardless of who notices." Now it's your turn. Comment below, "I choose my value over their approval." Let's make this our mantra. And if this video resonated with you, hit the like button, share it with someone who needs this reminder, and subscribe for more Stoic wisdom every week. Remember, you are your greatest investment. Until next time, stay grounded and stay inspired.